Hey Moira, this is your brother. Hey Moira, this is your brother. You're a psychopath, I'm not. I'm a lawyer, you're not. I'm a college graduate, you're not. I passed the bar in 3 states. You never even graduated from law school. You are not a legitimate college graduate, Moira. You never attended college before you attended Wellesley College, and all Davis scholars, as you claim to be, must attend another college before they attend Wellesley College. You never lived on campus, you lived far away from campus, and you had a job your last year at Wellesley. There's an open question now as to whether or not you even fully attended classes, or whether or not the Italian mafia, by means of extortion, blackmail, or provision of free sexual services from prostitutes to professors, just had people writing grades for you for classes you never attended, for classes you enrolled in, but you never attended. Moira, let's just say oral sex might have been what got you through college, provided to professors, not actual schoolwork. I edited your papers, your junior year of college, sophomore and junior year of college, by fax machine, Dad and I did. You couldn't write for shit. I had to teach you how to use a parenthetical phrase. You are not a legitimate college graduate. Let's now get down to the facts. You have stolen $11 million in inheritance from me, you and Mom did, along with the Greek mob, who works for the Italian mafia operating out of an Anthem section of Newton. I'd now also like to address District Attorney Marion Ryan. Marion, you suck. The fact that this is going on in Middlesex County to a father with my father with his work history. My father worked at Syracuse Research Corporation from 1976 to 1980. That is an intelligence contractor. And I'm wearing my father's hat that he wore for the last couple of years to try and warn these people not to kill him. This was a little hint from my father to these people that they should not murder him and not do what they were going to do to me. This is the hat my father wore during the last couple of years of his life. It says Ringling, as in Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, as in circus, as in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. As I found out over the last couple of years, actual intelligence officers use spy novels, references to spy novels, written by John Le Carre, actual name, Cornwell, and Len Deighton. And because I know this, because when I was about 9 years old, there was a novel by Len Deighton that sat at the top of the stairs at 7881 Salt Springs Road, Fayetteville, New York, for like about a year. The name of the novel was Berlin Game. And my father referred to our family as the Burlingame up the street. The Burlingame family. The Burlingame family up the street. Get it? Burlingame, U.S. That's right. My dad was the American version of Bernard Sampson from the novel Burlingame and Max Cossette and London Match. Now, Marion Ryan, please allow me to demonstrate how it's suspicious. There is a reasonable, articulable suspicion that you are failing to prosecute cases because you are influenced or paid off by the Italian mafia, or some of the people who fund your campaigns are connected to the Italian mafia. So there may be one layer of insulation between you and the Italian mafia, who's paying you off through intermediaries that pay for your campaigns or other things. That car, these people are definitely Greek mobsters at 11 Fairview Street, the 10 Bell Polices. And that car, as we can all see, is from Tennessee. Let's go look. Is that car from Tennessee? Is that car from Tennessee? Yeah, that looks like a Tennessee license plate. See those 3 stars? That's Tennessee. Guess what they sell in Tennessee rather liberally? Guns. 615 Bravo Romeo Delta X-Ray, Tennessee Reg. At the home of the Tembel Poulos family, who may have connections to gang members from Everett who need illegal guns. And Tennessee is a place where lots of illegal guns are purchased. Well, they're purchased legally, and or they're marked stolen when they're purchased legally and then marked stolen by people, and they're sold to collectors. You know, people who aggregate the guns into large collections and drive them up here on the Iron Pipeline. Marion Ryan, if you don't know this, you're either totally incompetent or you're corrupt. Just by having access to the internet and my personal experience over the last, 15 years, I know that Barbara Toscano is a grifter who exploits old people for their inheritances. Dionysios Tembalopoulos is a Greek mobster who had a biological child by Barbara Toscano. You can tell by her name and her face and her height. Dionysios, or the god Dionysus, is the god of parties and wine and drinking. And anise is the flavoring in ouzo, a Greek liqueur. So Anissa is named after her daddy. It's named in accordance with her daddy, the same category of things. And one of the middle names of Barbara Toscano's grandchild, Henry Toscano, who's the daughter of Anissa Toscano, is Agamemnon. It's not an Italian name, it's a Greek name. I was looking for wine bottles in that there recycling. I've been forced to upcycle wine bottles. And I was looking for wine bottles in that container, and I found some travel documents of Henry Toscano. And Anissa Toscano, who's a foreign national, by the way. When I was working at the district attorney's office, Marion Ryan, I worked on a search warrant. Remember Jim Sahakian, Marion? That combat veteran Marine that Martha used to make fun of? Martha's never served in combat. Why was Martha Coakley making fun of Jim Sahakian at meetings? Well, we can speculate on that at other times. Yeah, that's right. At office meetings, Martha Coakley used to talk diminutively about James W. Sahakian, United States Marine Corps retired. He was a captain. He fought in combat in Vietnam. And Martha, who's never been in combat, was making fun of him. I think that says something about the people who end up as district attorney in Middlesex County. Anyways, Jim assigned me to the search warrant team from 2000 to 2002. So I worked on a search warrant for a house of prostitution on Charles Bank Road in Newton, for the Newton Police, the very corrupt Newton Police, which turns out are working for the Italian Mafia. This is not, there's no reason for me to keep this information secret, because guess what? Yeah, when a search warrant is returned, it's public. It's a public document. And if the Newton Police got a search warrant without executing it and doing a return, just as a shakedown on a house of prostitution on behalf of the Greek mob or the Italian Mafia, well, that would be a serious, that would be a crime committed under color of authority of an official act by the Newton Police if they never executed that search warrant. So I really hope they executed that search warrant. I've seen short Asian women over the last 15 to 20 years coming and going from 1 Ferry Street. The man who lives there is he's been in his 60s and probably his 70s now, and he's single and he doesn't go out much. So he obviously works from home, and the only real option to work from home these days is computer science. He's their hacker. He uses Bluetooth to hack into cell phones. He's hacked into this cell phone, I know, because of the way it's behaved. And he's turned these hacking tools over to the Greek mob. I can get into how I know that later. Basically, I figured it out because whoever was listening in on the line got drunk the night before, pressed the wrong button while I was leaving a message for somebody, and I was leaving messages on a voicemail, and all of a sudden I heard Greek on a TV in the background, and I was on speakerphone while I was talking to a voicemail. So obviously there was another phone on the line with a TV playing in the background in Greek, and these are the only Greek people I've ever that have any relevance to my life, so had to have been them. But they really don't seem to have the technical skill to do it, so it's obviously this guy. And he's had young Asian women coming and going from his house, walking very slowly, plodding very unhappily, it appeared, to 1 Ferry Street, staying for about 2 hours and then leaving. They're not there for computer lessons. They're not there to learn how to speak Swahili. They're trafficked prostitutes, Marion Ryan. And you're not doing anything about it, Marion Ryan. Which means there's something wrong with you. Either you're afraid or you're corrupt, Marion Ryan. Take your fucking pick, you narcissistic personality disorder piece of filth. People are suffering in Middlesex County. People are being murdered. There are trafficked people in Middlesex County, and you're not doing anything about it. For the last 2 years, I've been tortured by these gangsters, and I used to work at the Middlesex County District Attorney's Office. I was at the District Attorney's Office at the same time you were there. You stood at my desk in Waltham, screaming your head off, rather inappropriately, I might add, while spittle was landing on my face. I was in Waltham District Court. I was in the District Attorney's Office at Waltham District Court, and you were screaming your head off about the morality and the indignity of somebody who had abused an old person. And then me and my father were abused when you were in charge of elder abuse, Marion Ryan. My father, who was an elder, was abused for 10 years by these gangsters and my mother and my sister. And then I believe he was murdered, slowly poisoned nearly to death by my mother with arsenic, and then finished off in a medical facility by someone hired by these gangsters. And you, Marion Ryan, who publicly claimed to care so much about elder abuse, you didn't do shit about it. And the victim was a father of an former assistant district attorney who you worked with at the DA's office at the same time he was there. We only met once. You worked at the district attorney's office under Martha Coakley at the same time I was there. We served in the same office. And you claim to care about elder abuse. And you let a very wealthy old man who was a former employee of the Central Intelligence Agency and a triad member of the American version of the circus, counterintelligence, as described in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John Le Carre, who is a retired employee of MI6. He wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy about Kim Philby, the traitor. So this man who had that history, and by the way, you let that old man, get tortured to death by his wife and Greek mobsters so they could steal $11 million from me and torture me for the rest of my life. You don't give a shit about elder abuse, Marion Ryan. You're a fucking fraud, and you should not be the district attorney of Middlesex County, and you should be disbarred. And now, the people who did that, and I'm jumping around with the facts, I'm jumping around in my topics here, Marion Ryan, but that's okay. I'm a little upset, and I'm in fear for my safety and in fear for my life. Because you suck, Marion Ryan. I'm in fear for my life because you stink at your fucking job, Marion Ryan. They killed my cats and Newton Police didn't do anything. And you don't seem to care. Which means you're not a public servant. You serve yourself. Now these people who did this to my father and I, they've got a car from Tennessee in there. A very expensive looking car. A Ford Equinox with some sort of specialty after commercial thing on it, right? See how it's a Buick, excuse me. Rather expensive looking car in a driveway from Tennessee, where Tennessee is a gun state where guns are sold, then purchased illegally, and they're driven up the iron pipeline to Massachusetts. There's a billboard on the Pike about this, about guns, about getting guns out of Massachusetts, and you're standing by and watching this happen. You should know this, Marion Ryan. In fact, you are being willfully blind to this, Marion Ryan, because if I can figure this out with a smartphone and my own personal knowledge, it means you are willfully blind to this, Marion Ryan, and telling your detectives not to investigate this, which means you, Marion Ryan, are either a coward because you're in fear for your own safety, not doing your job, so you should let somebody else do the job, or you're corrupt. You're taking money somehow through an intermediary or third party between you and the Italian mafia. Take your pick, Marion Ryan. Either way, you should not be the district attorney of Middlesex County. So let's change topics again. This hat, it's a reference to the circus, and yes, real CIA officers make references to spy novels to talk to each other, to talk to, because things are classified, they have to be able to communicate with people in ways that they're not breaking the law. They use Len Deighton novels, at least my father did, use Len Deighton novels and John Le Carré novels. The real name of the pen name, John Le Carré, is the pen name of a man named Cornwell, who was an employee of MI6, whose career was brought to an end by the traitor Kim Philby. So the spy novel, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, is actually about Kim Philby. This hat, the reason my father purchased this hat was that one of my adoptive uncles, a man named Patrick J. Hennigan, was on the board of directors of the John and Mabel Ringling Museum of Art in Florida. That was a not so subtle hint to anybody who thought about harming my father, Patrick J. Hennigan, or Paul J. Flynn, that they were members of the American version of the circus, as depicted in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and that nobody should harm them. And these idiots in the Greek mob tortured my father for 11 years, psychologically. Conspired with my mother to slowly poison her to death with arsenic. Ruined my life so they could steal $11 million in inheritance from my sister in return for certain consideration my sister gave to them. Specifically, I would estimate between $60 and $100 million worth of non-classified, but also non-public commercial information about purchases people make online or in person, or their cell phone bill that was held at Forrester Research that my sister stole and gave to these people. This is going on in your county, Marion Ryan, and you are so fucking clueless you're not doing anything about it. I almost got killed on May 5th, 2026, or I was poisoned in such a way as to make me appear mentally ill. The Newton police helped. The Newton police distracted me right here. Kept me out of view of the front door of 10 Fairview Street so that criminal Confederates could go inside the house and put poison in some of my food, my instant coffee primarily, and mess with my digital devices, hack into my digital devices. Marion Ryan, I don't think all the police knew precisely what was going on. I think only the sergeant knew what was going on. I'm not sure what the other two knew. Marion Ryan, the fact that you aren't aware that this is going on in your county, and the fact that you are even thinking about saying I'm mentally ill, means you are corrupt, Marion Ryan, or you're such a coward. It is the functional equivalent of corruption. So when the guns that this is the reason for this car from Tennessee being here, it's either a negotiation or the transport of firearms, illegal firearms. When those guns get on the street and they kill people, it's going to be your fault, Marion Ryan. It's going to be your fault. The fault of the Newton police and the fault of the state police who are involved in this. You piece of filth.